Okay, so I finally got my R5, and so far I have to say I really like it. I'm shooting with it right now in 4K HQ, and we'll talk about that a bit later. But for now, a bit of a first impressions, not a full review, but just, what I found playing with it for a little bit now. So just for a bit of context, I did upgrade to the R5 from a 5D Mark IV, primarily for autofocus reasons. Now, I was still perfectly happy with the image quality from the 5D Mark IV, but the autofocus was kind of, showing its age. I don't know, DSLR focusing systems just aren't as accurate, especially with my 50mm 1.2 and my Sigma 35mm 1.4. It was really, really bad. And with this, it's way better. Focusing directly on the sensor just seems to do the trick. So all of my EF lenses actually work better on this than on my 5D4, which is pretty cool. And definitely means that if you want to upgrade to an R5 or an R6, you don't have to just go out and buy a bunch of new lenses. Pretty much all EF lenses I've tested so far just work great. Okay, so the Ibis in here. I don't think it's quite Panasonic level of good, but it certainly beats Sony's in my opinion. And depending on which focal length you use, if you use something super wide, you'll kind of get like wobble in the corners. But if you're using a 35 or a 50 and you just want to get some handheld shots, it is really, really nice and it works very well. So just a great feature to have. Just for photography, this thing is absolutely amazing. And I kind of have no complaints whatsoever. I mean, 45 megapixels is a lot, but it's still not that much. Like, I'm still cool with shooting with it every day compared to an A7R4 with 62 megapixels. But God, I don't really need that many pixels all the time. It's got better dynamic range, better low light performance, better autofocus than the 5D4, and so in every way possible, this is just a great upgrade. For video, we've all heard about the overheating by now, and yeah, it's kind of a big deal, but for me personally, it's not really. Now, first of all, I don't think I'll ever be shooting anything in 8K with this. It's fun to play with, having 8K RAW, and just playing around with it. It's great, but the 4K HQ on this has a smaller file size, looks pretty much just as good, and is just overall more usable because it doesn't overheat quite as fast. So I'll probably just be shooting 4K HQ, pretty much everything. And yeah, for that, it works great for me. And I should say that I primarily take photos, so the video overheating isn't as big of a deal for me. I'd still prefer to have a camera that doesn't overheat, obviously, but all in all, the image quality on this is so good that I just don't really mind it, and it's kind of the perfect hybrid camera for me. So yeah, as far as 8K RAW goes, unless I really need the flexibility of RAW or all of that resolution, I probably won't use it because, like I just said, it's fun to play around with, but the 4K HQ looks just as good, and it certainly is more usable in real life. So yeah, kind of overhyped and not really necessary if they just figured out a way to get 4K HQ not to overheat and 8K RAW wasn't an option. I feel like this would be an even better camera, and they'd still have, crippled it in some way, but yeah, it is what it is, and it's fine for me. So would I recommend this camera? If you're a photographer who just does a little bit of video, yes, absolutely. If you are a videographer, probably not. It overheats, and that is going to be a big deal. So if you primarily do video, you might want to look elsewhere, because the image quality is great, but if it overheats, it's not usable. Yeah, I should probably also mention that I'm using a Tiffen Black Pro Mist filter on this right now, so the image quality here is a little bit softer than what you'd get out of it. Just thought I'd mention that. So anyway, thank you for watching. This is it, and I promise it's not going to take me another 2 years to upload my next video.